Leone, at least 13 soldiers have been killed during a series of armed attacks in the country's capital. The assaults allowed nearly 2,000 inmates to escape from prison. Authorities say most of the leaders of the attacks have been arrested and an investigation is underway.
On the streets of Freetown, shops and businesses are open once again after the government eased its curfew restrictions. There's still an increased military presence in the capital, however, as efforts continue to apprehend all the attackers.
There you have it. So on Sunday morning, the world woke up to the news that there is a coup that is taking place in Sierra Leone. And of course, that's how I reported it. As you can see from this military coup happening in Sierra Leone at this moment. And of course, the issue comments from people. Like this one here saying, "Brother, thank you for your comment, but please don't use misleading titles. If a coup has not been confirmed, use another title because it is a detriment to your credibility." Now he's talking about my credibility. Look, it's not like I get pressure from reporting about these things. Why would I say that Sierra Leone has a coup if they don't have a coup? And how I know is that I got news that 2,000 prisoners had been released from this prison called the Pandeba Road, the Central Pandeba Road prison, and a lot of prisoners that were released are political prisoners. So they are there because of political reasons. So 2,000 political prisoners were released by their comrades, and these comrades proceeded to the nearest military barracks to steal guns. So the assumption is we have close to 2,000 armed ex-prisoners out there for revenge. So it was dangerous, it was a coup. And according to the latest news and according to the president of now Sierra Leone, is that 13 Sierra Leone military officers, these are not servicemen, officers. We are talking of major, colonels, those ones. So the military officers are under arrest for trying to stage a coup. They were working together, according to the news, with the 30 other servicemen, the non-officer soldiers, and 52 retired or ex-military. So we are talking of a group of close to, now that number you can roughly say close to 70. And this group of 70 people are led by 13 military officers, went to a prison to release political prisoners, probably former soldiers who committed crimes in the past. And these 2,000 prisoners were supposed now to go to the nearest barrack or the military barracks, the Navy military barracks in Freetown to get guns. So if this thing was not stopped by the government, it was going to blow out of control. And you know, Sierra Leone is that country that back in the early 90s had a very bad civil war. You remember Sierra Leone had a civil war that killed hundreds of people because of the diamonds. And if people are still doubting that it was a coup, look at what ECOWAS did. They called an emergency meeting in Nigeria, and in that meeting they agreed that if Sierra Leone still feels that the threat is there, they are willing to send soldiers. So that's what they're saying. ECOWAS ready to deploy elements in Sierra Leone if need be. So if you read the story in the meeting that was held on Monday, right? This meeting was held in Nigeria. They were saying that if the government in Sierra Leone still feels the threat is there, they're willing to send some special force from Nigeria and other countries to try to stop that coup. And that is what happened. And the president of now Sierra Leone says that he has arrested these close to 20 leaders of this coup, and among that 20 includes 13 officers, military officers. We are talking of sergeant major, talking of colonels, captains, and you know, those officers in the army, including generals, were part of that. So it was a coup, and I don't have to stop reporting on such things because of my credibility. I had information that I used from an AFP journalist who also works for BBC. From there, he said that he passed a roadblock that was set up by these soldiers that were carrying out the coup, and he heard them singing that they are going to clean the mess in Sierra Leone. So they were using a local Creole language, the English Creole there, and that's a fact. That's a fact. So when he said that, I knew it was something that was going on in form of a coup. Look at what someone who I suspect is from Sierra Leone posted in the comments on my video. So this person says, I hope it's a coup, or I hope it's a coup d'etat. Sierra Leone is one of the largest producer of diamonds, one of the most expensive diamonds, but barely benefits from them and the vast natural resources in their lands. So a coup is long, maybe he wanted to say a coup is long overdue, as its people of Sierra Leone don't benefit. So the coup is necessary. So you understand, a lot of people actually in Sierra Leone do not want them to go back to where they were in 1993, 1994, when they had that civil war. But others believe that the country is still too poor despite the diamonds. Remember, back in the 90s, the diamonds were financing and fueling the civil war. The rebels were extracting these diamonds and selling them and buying guns. But here we are. We are about 25 years later after the end of that war. The country got more poorer despite the government now legally mining those diamonds and exporting them. The country has grown more poorer than it was then. And we are talking of the 90s. So a lot of people actually feel that a coup in that country is long overdue. The current president, I think, has been in power for more than 80 years. I'm not sure. I will have to confirm. But he keeps making trips, international trips to other countries, attending Independence Day in most African countries and presidential inauguration days. I've seen him come to Kenya like twice for parties. I've seen him go to other countries like Nigeria more than once. So his job is just to visit other presidents in other countries, and he sees the kind of development happening in other countries. Like in Kenya, there are these new roads they have that are the elevated kind of highways. You go to countries like Tanzania, they have these new railways that use electricity. You go to Nigeria, there's a lot of things happening around Lagos. He sees all that. But when he goes back to Freetown, which is like a slum, he does nothing. And that's the other reason for concern. Look at what someone said in the comment. Mr. Bayo is wrong to think that he can keep the country together just like that without bringing in other regional military. Okay, this is someone advocating for ECOWAS to deploy. And someone saw that clip I used above. I'm going to show you the clip now. He says, I can't believe this is Sierra Leone. They need real infrastructure and development. And to finish this video, I need to tell you that Sierra Leone is not like other African countries. Sierra Leone, the land there was bought or stolen from the indigenous people, and then black slaves in the US who, after being freed, they were freed, given freedom during emancipation. When they were freed, some of them did not want to continue living in the United States, and these people wanted to be taken back to Africa, where their ancestors had come from 400 years before. So the US came to Africa and acquired two lands. One of them was Liberia, and the other one was Sierra Leone. So then they went back to the US and they organized through fundraising ship to carry these people who are not willing to continue working or staying in the United States. So thousands of black former slaves were loaded onto ship and brought to Africa because they wanted to go back to where their ancestors had come from. And once they got to Africa, they formed this country called Sierra Leone, and the town there is called, or the capital is called Freetown, because of the freed slaves. And in the neighboring Liberia is the same thing. And these guys in Sierra Leone, then the people who are there, the indigenous, became the minority. And the civil war there was also something to do with that. The minority, indigenous communities felt that these black people who came from the US speaking English are foreigners. They are colonizers, and they are somehow invaders. And that's how the society and the fabric of Sierra Leone has always had trouble because of that. Because these are people who, for the past 400 years, have been living as scared slaves in some foreign countries. They have adopted very different cultures from the people who they are coming to live with in Africa. That actually created conflict. And that's how Sierra Leone was formed, and that's why it has always had problems and trouble.